Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap.
This game's fun as long as you don't think too much about the mechanics of toilet kills. You're a reaper, working for a fireplace, hunting the undead that chase the high of life. That is not blue meth. You'll go up against zombies, vampires and skeletons, and even some technically non-undead out-of-towners. Demons, technically not undead. And all of this takes place somewhere, I'm still not completely sure where. I'm not up to date on my lore about the river Styx. But it's a dark, bland world that's really seedy, yet sterile at times. Similar to Bleakness, and it's absolutely lovely. You get the missions from the flames in your apartment. You go to your destination in your classic car, you plan how to assault the building, and then you start painting the walls. Unless you're fighting skeletons, of course. In that case, you produce some bone meal. Which is a bit of a waste. I doubt anything grows here. One shot usually kills you, so you better be prepared, fast and accurate. Use vents to get the drop on them. Once again, don't think too much about the fact that he can transform into smoke. Don't ruin it. You can also use cover and cut the power to turn off the lights. If you're stealthy, maybe use a suppressed weapon. Otherwise, just use the door. Rather amusingly, this game's named Deadbolt, but very few doors are actually locked. But those that are require a good picking. Otherwise, just be polite and knock, and give them a surprise. Fire away! Well, your ammo is very limited, so usually you can't just relieve your frustrations and clip on a single enemy, no matter how much you may want to. At least not if you want a 5-star rating for the level. Then you will have to be fast and accurate with a high percentage of headshots. And it seems like headshot percentage is the most important one of the three. So line up your mouse, the smaller the reticule, the better your accuracy. You decide when to fire and what odds are good enough. Make all shots count and get new weapons when those are dry. I suppose technically this isn't as fun as just blasting everything, but when you succeed after using a mixture of stealth, speed and strength, you'll feel like John Wick. Except constantly upright. No fancy rolls for you. But if you do go the blasting route, there are a few weapons to choose from. And as you progress, you earn souls which you can spend at the boatman's shop for a larger selection of starting weaponry. Be precise, fight in melee, or just make a mess. Play how you want, but usually precision is the best way to get those stars. So the gameplay is fun and tight, good for a gas, or serious replay and training. Towards perfection. It's kind of a tricky game, quite difficult, but it is fair. It has a campaign mode that took me 15 hours to complete with a 5-star rank on all levels. And thereafter you can complete the same campaign except in hard mode, with different pickup placement, enemy placement, and sometimes slight changes to layout. And that mode is tougher but still fair. There just wasn't really incentive to do it all again. So I stopped halfway through the hard campaign. But if you're so inclined, that's a little bit extra longevity. And if you're still not satisfied, this game does have Steam Workshop capability. And I believe the modders of this game have been, across its lifetime, quite busy. So if you can swing the internet, that's just another string to this game's bow. Visually, it's great. Dark, bland, almost sterile, a place the undead would want to escape. And it probably only works because of this setting. It's pixel art, very straight and clean. At least until you start imitating Mr. Pollock. The game has amusing, characterful enemy design. But they still look tough, it works well. I mean, how else would these bright green zombies not take away from the bleak surrounds? And they're all unique enough that at a glance you know how to deal with them. The enemy's movement, their attack type, and how ideally you should dispatch them. Wait for them, surprise them, keep your distance, or be ruthless. Story-wise, the game is good. Good world building. It's a depressing enough place to justify the undead's actions. And your employer, the Flames, is a poet. And yes, now that I think about it, the Flames is an amusing stage name. Sure, sometimes the plot is simplistic, and the words are just there to justify the existence of a level. But sometimes the poetry is sad and beautiful. which is surprising from this poetry that's so intent on having a jokey aspect. The flames are serious, and their briefings instill a sense of duty, that your task of slaying these undead is important. Even though, later on, it becomes harder and harder to make the argument that you're inherently the good guy. Or at the very least, you're one of those heroes with a tough job, a grim one. The cassettes that some of the undead drop that tell their story can at times be kind of heartbreaking. The lower ranking undead are usually very desperate and very confused. It can be quite soulful. It's absolute punishment. It can be quite soulful, them clinging to life and their pain. So the story is good, but most of the quality is relayed through the flaming poetry and the necrotic prose that convey raw emotion. It peters out slightly when you're nearing the end. It starts to have less poetry and not as much emotional heft when you start figuring out the answers to the questions you've been having. But I maintain, very good. And everything is set to a very smooth, funky, action-packed track list. The entire game just oozes cool. I don't think it ever really sets a foot wrong. It's great. And it is cheap on Steam. 109 Rand full price, 27 Rand 25 on sale. That's 1 Rand 82 per hour of gameplay, which is quite splendid. And that's if we choose to be conservative and only count the time it took me to complete the campaign in normal difficulty mode. And it has quite the small download size, as it only takes up 197 megabytes on the hard drive. And it works on the Warhorse. It just isn't kid-friendly. Pixel art, blood, drugs and sex, or at the very least near nudity. 1 or 2 cases, accompanied by suggestive themes. Also, it can be quite grim to read a zombie's mental anguish. Death depression. Plus, it has a really dark take on the afterlife. Or at the very least, a dark take on one aspect of one doctrine of what the afterlife is like. The game has good visuals, clean and bleak pixel art, fits with the whole dark, depressing atmosphere and story. It has great gameplay, it's very tight and fun, easy to pick up, hard to master and all that. Makes you feel like a master assassin. It has good, cool music. Somehow smooth and funky, yet fits with assassination and darkness. Keeps you focused on the action and calms you down when you go back to the apartment between missions. It's a cool, soulful journey. A good story with depression and pain. Ridiculously cool. But fair warning, it can be a bit difficult to reconcile your role in the story. Stopping the desperate undead. Especially after you read one cassette in particular. I won't spoil it, but some of you may consider the protagonist a bit more of an anti-hero anyway. On the maybe side, there are no vocals and you have to read, and some of you will not like the fact that in order to get 5 stars on a level, you have to be precise and play methodically, instead of going full auto. But I suppose you don't have to 5-star everything. Sure, that will make the game a bit shorter, but using a grenade launcher is quite the salve. This is an incredible game, and almost complies with all the checklist criteria. And in my opinion, it doesn't really have a downside to it. Come on, play it. Vanquish vampiric vested vanguards. Even though they're killers, they love to move whimsically. Hop, hop, hop. Hop, hop, hop.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.